Hi there, Girl Scouts and Girl Scout families. Welcome to the Financial Literacy Class 2. We're going to talk about what is the cost. My name is Candice Blair. I am the Girl Experience Manager for Girl Scouts of Central California South, and we do these financial literacy lessons every Tuesday, so you can find them on our YouTube channel, and occasionally we'll have live events with special guests, activities, and other opportunities to incorporate financial literacy into your life. So let's begin. On our first slide here, you'll see there's a girl with a bike, and she looks like she might be protecting her bike, but she's definitely like, this is my bike. And there's an older girl, and she seems to be celebrating the fact that she has keys to a car. So you'll see that that has a role in what we do later. So we have a very basic agenda today. So I'm going to review some supplies. We're going to do an activity together. I'm going to talk to you about the 4 ways you can figure out what the true cost of something is. And then I'll tell you what's coming next in our financial literacy series. For today, you're going to need something very simple, just a piece of scratch paper. I have a piece of paper that got stuck in our printer that won't go through anymore. So that'll be what I use. And just a pen, pencil, marker, color pencil, crayon, whatever you have around. Nothing too complicated this week. All right, so let's talk about the true cost of something. So I know back to school is coming, and there are a lot of things that we like to have for that back to school experience. Most classrooms ask you to bring a pair of headphones or a headset. I did happen to put on some wireless Beats. Not the most economical choice, but I wanted to show that there are things that you probably would like to have if, you know, the cost wasn't an issue. I put some classic Nike Airs right there. Those white on white on white are really popular. And something that we may want but not need are fun things like this karaoke microphone. I just wanted to list some prices on things that teens and girls want, and you may be able to figure out that these are in the budget of what you have to spend for your back to school items, or they might not be. So let's talk about how do you figure out if this is all you have to spend in order to enjoy these items, which is one way that you calculate whether or not there is whether or not the price you paid at the store or online is the true cost of an item. So let's talk about our karaoke microphone. So more than likely, everything that you need for this karaoke microphone is here, with the exception of the songs. So you may need to spend more money to download the songs that are the ones you want. So like for instance, it may come with a few free downloads, but you may have to buy a few more. So let's say on the really expensive end, your downloads are like $3.99 a piece or so. So you may end up spending quite a bit more money depending on how many songs you want to download. So that $39 you spent initially to get that microphone to you has now, you know, can easily grow to $50, $60 and further, because let's be honest, new songs come out all the time and you want those new songs. And how about your Beats? So they look really nice and they definitely do the job, but they do have to be charged. And, you know, there are, you know, cords and everything. And if you have to replace those cords, they're kind of expensive, but pretty much for the most part, that $179 price tag is what you're going to pay. And then your Nikes. So your Nikes, those, you know, unless you're going to replace your shoelaces, that's pretty much the true cost. Like if you keep your Nikes clean and you're not running many miles with them every day, you're probably having, you know, that $90 investment go pretty far. Now, that is not true for all large expensive items, and sometimes even like less expensive items. So let's talk about our activity. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can work on our items. Hi, how are you? Welcome to my home office. You can see my bikes back there. All right, so that was an investment. Let me talk about that. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to fold your piece of paper in 4. It'll look like that. Then you're going to open it back up. And if you're using a piece of scratch paper, whichever side is the clean side, that's where we're going to start. So you'll see that we have 4 squares. And in those 4 squares, we're actually going to list the 4 ways that you can calculate the true cost of something. And like the image I had on the slide, you can tell, like, sometimes things are the true cost. So if I buy a pen, this isn't a refillable pen. So when this pen is done writing the, you know, $4.99 I paid for it, could pens be that expensive? I feel like they could. The $4.99 I paid for it is kind of like, that is the cost. We recycle it when we're done. What I would like you to do is watch me first and then work with a parent to talk about something that you want to buy and figure out the true cost, okay? So for my 2 sides, I have a new bike and my first car. So my hopes is that the girls that are watching this are, you know, a nice wide range of girls. So we'll have girls that are older, that would be within the range of having a car. And I think all girls are within the range of having a bike, but I wanna make sure that we're covering both sides. So when you and your family have decided what you want to calculate the cost of, you're gonna write in your first box whatever it is that you want to purchase, okay? And then we're gonna ask some questions about this item. So the 3 questions we wanna ask about the item are who, what, and where. And then in the box directly below it, you're gonna write down upkeep and care, you know, that kind of thing. And then next to where you wrote whatever item it is you want to purchase, you're gonna write cost, okay? And then at the very bottom, you're gonna write trade-in, all right? Okay, so let's talk about bicycles. So the who is who's going to be using this. Now, a bicycle is kind of like a one person only use thing, but when you're calculating the true cost of other things, that matters. So let's say that your parents are trying to figure out the true cost of getting you a cell phone. But the reality is it's not just you that are going to use a cell phone. It's like because you and your brother or you and your younger sister go to the same school, so you can have one phone so you guys can use it in an emergency. Or later on when we figure out the true cost of a car, like maybe it's not just you that are going to use the car, it's going to be a car that you and you're going to share with like another sibling or a family member. So that's why we say who. So let's say who is Miss Candice. So Miss Candice is getting a new bike. When I say new bike, I mean it could be a brand new bike from the store. It could be a new to me bike that somebody else had, but that's also something that we'll figure out a little bit later. What? So what is it that I'm looking for? So the Nike Airs. Okay, so like everybody loves those shoes. And so I would be very specific and I would say the white on white Nike Airs, size 8.5 women's. And like, especially if I had like a model number, like I would definitely put that on there. If I just know that I want a mountain bike, I would put that on there, mountain bike. And if you care about color or the style, put that on there too. The world is filled with choices and you get a chance to declare what that choice is. And if things matter to you, then put that on there. That's okay. It's your money and you should tell it what to do. So when you spend money that you've earned or that your parents have budgeted for you, it's really important that you make those kind of decisions on what you actually want. It's really overwhelming out there, and although shopping isn't like the way it used to be, you can't just go into Target and get whatever because of supplies kind of running thin on almost everything. These are the times when doing research online and really asking questions can pay off big time for you. All right, let's talk about where. That leads me into this next part. Where are you going to get this? Are you going to order it online and have it delivered to your house? Are you going to look on Craigslist and find a bike that some other kid didn't really ride? Are you going to talk to family and friends and see if there's somebody out there that's selling a bike that would fit you? Oh, that's something else. If you're looking for something, make sure you're putting down the size, because you know, bikes come in different sizes, cars come in different sizes, shoes come in different sizes. That's all part of the information that you should be putting down. So we've identified who will be using this thing or service. It's, you know, this can also work for a service. Like my son uses Noggin. So is $7 a month worth it? Well, let's figure this out. To me, not really, but you know, whatever. What the item is, and be specific of what you want and where you're going to get it. Okay. So the cost. This is where your research comes in. So if you're not comfortable on the internet, or your parents want you to have a person there with you, that's perfect. This is the best time to do that, because you can get online, you can type in like karaoke microphone, and you can do some research. On Amazon, there are karaoke microphones that are $200, and then there's the $39 one I showed you. And it's great because they have reviews, it tells you the different features. And I wouldn't just look at one source. I would look at different stores. So maybe you look at Amazon, you look at Best Buy, maybe you just type in karaoke microphone into the search bar. It's important that you learn to research these things, because what happens when we just buy the first thing we see is we may not get the thing we want. And sometimes, especially in the case of electronics, you can't return them and once they're opened. Unless it's Costco. Costco will take back everything. They're the best. But this is where you write down the cost. And don't forget to add in your taxes and any shipping fees if that happens. I don't think you should, like, I mean, like if you have to drive to a store and go pick it up, I don't think you necessarily have to like calculate gas cost unless you're driving from California to say like Nevada to pick it up. But you know, maybe for something really big, maybe. I'm not sure what that would be. All right, so let's talk about Upkeep. Now, a bicycle. When you have a bicycle, there's very little upkeep, but there are some things that you'll need that will make your journey a whole lot better. A bicycle pump, and not just one of those like hand ones. Like you want one that goes like this, right? Those cost money, so you have to do some research. Does your family have one? Great, you don't even have to buy it. Awesome. Does it have the right end to go? There's like different ends to go into your tube. Do you have bicycle tubes? I was definitely riding to school in middle school and I got a flat tire. Well, I didn't have a bicycle tube with me. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not know how to replace a bicycle tube, so it didn't really matter even if I had one. So we had to buy a bicycle tube to replace it. What else? I mean, you probably won't ever have to replace your tires unless you're riding many miles a week. But you may have to replace the tubes at some point. So bicycles, pretty low maintenance, pretty nice. Your upkeep would probably just be making sure there's air in the tires and it's clean. Sometimes you buy new bicycles, the seats are uncomfortable, and you can buy replacement seats that are a little more comfortable, but that wouldn't be an upkeep cost. So, all right, let's talk about our last square, trade-in. So I bring this up because there are a lot of us that have the same item we might be getting a new one of. You call it a replacement cost, right? So do you have something that you could trade in to offset some of the cost for the current thing that you're buying? So bicycle. You're not gonna be able to go to Target for the most part. You're not going to be able to go to Target and say, well, I have this old bike. Would you like to buy it for $30? Target's gonna say no thank you, but you are more than welcome to buy a bike. But if you had, say, like a yard sale, or sell it on Craigslist, or you have your family put it on Facebook Marketplace, you could sell your old bike. And then you have some money to put towards your new bike, right? So that you can actually subtract from the cost. So let's talk about how this formula works. So you figure out the item, you figure out what the out the door, meaning this is what you have to pay when you initially get it, cost, what it will cost to upkeep, whether or not you have your bike pump and your bike tubes, and then if you can make any money from the old item you have. And I'm going to say that you can get creative. And if you don't have an old bike, maybe you have a scooter and you want to trade that in or sell it to offset some of the costs, because you realize, I really want a bike. I don't really care about scootering anymore. Scooting? Might be scooting. Anyway, so let's talk about cars. Now, this model is actually derived from how many adults buy cars. So we go through the same process. So my first car. So most of us don't get a Range Rover as our first car. Some of you might, no judgment. Most of us get a hand-me-down car, meaning it was somebody else's car. A small, sensible car that will get us from point A and point B. Or we just have a car that we share with our family. So maybe it's, the car of the person that doesn't drive as much. And so we're able to drive it to school or to our jobs, etc. So you want to figure out with your family who is going to be driving this car, what kind of car you want. We all want a better car, but I would say be honest with yourself and be honest with your family, and you guys can come up with what it is you're looking for, and where you're going to get it. Okay, so the way to get a car is so varied. There are so many places to get cars. You can get them off of Craigslist. Your neighbor could be selling a car. Your grandma could say, I just don't ever drive it. Would you like to buy it? You guys could go to CarMax and test drive a car. There's Carvana where they drive the car to you and drop it off of a trailer. My neighbor did that. It was wild. He just like ordered a car on the internet and it just delivered it like it was Amazon Prime. Either way, there are many, many ways to get a car. Don't get overwhelmed. That's what this process is for, to be able to identify what you're looking for in a whole big old world of things to choose from. So let's talk about the cost. Okay, so unless you're looking specifically at one car, you may not know what the true cost of that car is yet. But what you can do as a preliminary measure, or the first step, is to set a budget. So maybe you've been working as a babysitter since you were 11 years old, and you've been saving that money, and your family said, look, we will meet you halfway. Whatever you save, we'll match. So maybe you have $1,500 and they're gonna match that. So now you have $3,000 to be able to buy a car. It's kind of hard to find a car in that range, but you have a starting point. Maybe there's a little more flexibility in your budget, maybe not. Maybe that is it. So you can start with that. what you can do is if you know the type of car that you want, so let's take a very generic car, let's say a Toyota Corolla. So you know that you want a Toyota Corolla, you want something from 2010 to 2015 in there. So you can start just doing the research and looking up like what is the private party. So that means like, are you buying it from your neighbor or a relative? You're not buying it from a dealership, essentially. Some dogs fighting outside. Don't know what that's about. Anyway, so you're buying it from a private party, which means that it's somebody that is just a person, not a dealership, not a professional car selling anything. Okay. Then you can look up what it would cost at a dealership. So let's say that you go to CarMax and you were just kind of looking for simple four-door cars that are safe, and they say, oh, well, we have this Toyota Corolla, we just got it as a trade-in. You can look up like what that cost would be if you bought that at a dealership, used, obviously, and kind of get an idea of like, what is a fair price? And when you do that, you're going to find out that there's lots of variables. There's how many miles does the car have on it? Because every car has a lifetime and it's very different depending on the car. And actually you could get the same car and year to year, the mileage can vary. It just depends on the changes that the manufacturer made. There's also the overall condition. So maybe you want a car that looks like the outside is really great, no scratches, no dents, no like, you know, cosmetic problems. Inside looks really good. Maybe you don't care. You are just like, I want to get from my house to my school to my band practice and get home. I don't really care what the car looks like. Maybe you are going to be somebody that's like, hey, I know I'm going to need this car for a long time. Like I'm a senior in high school soon and I'm going to need this for college. So I don't really care what it looks like, but it better run for a long time because I'm not going to have money to replace it. Okay, all of those things. Figure out the cost of what it is out the door. Now cars, again, you're going to have to pay taxes. You're going to have to pay some fees to the DMV, which is the Department of Motor Vehicles. So those are things that you can actually look up. The DMV fees, I think you can do a calculator online, but unfortunately, they're always more than you think they're going to be. But let's talk about upkeep and regular cost. So in order for cars to go, most of them, you know, I know that there are full electric cars and there are hybrid cars, but for most cars, you're going to need to account for the cost of gasoline. You're going to need to put gas in your car. No gas, no go. So right now, gas is extremely cheap. I think I paid $2.19 a gallon the other day. I don't really keep track of like when that was like the same price. It could have been in the 90s. I'm not really sure, but it is very cheap. And right now, if you were to calculate that cost staying the same, it would not be necessarily true, but you can get an idea of if you have a car with a 10-gallon tank and gas is $2.19 a gallon. How much is that? That's $21.19 if you put exactly 10 gallons in. So if you know that that car gets you from your house to your school all week long with you know, a half a tank, you know that every 2 weeks you're going to have to put in almost $22 in gas in that car. So that's called an upkeep cost. There's also the price of your tires. It's not like a bicycle. They definitely wear out, and depending on where you live, they wear out faster. I live in Fresno, where the roads are kept up in a very spotty fashion. It just depends on where you are. And so they can wear out faster. There's also oil changes. There's different repairs you'll have to make. And as you grow in your responsibility, it's a great idea to have a repair fund. It sounds like a lot of money, but cars are expensive. And then the other regular cost you are going to have to account for is insurance. In the state of California, you have to have a bare minimum of insurance on your car, and it does cost quite a lot when you are just starting out driving. And the reason is inexperienced drivers make mistakes and have accidents. So you can actually call insurance brokers and they'll give you quotes. If your parents are going to put you on their insurance, which a lot of parents do, they can do the same thing. So if I added my daughter, she's 17, she's been driving for 1 year, we're getting her a 2014 Toyota Camry that has 98,000 miles on it. If you find that, that's a great deal. Get that car. Anyway, how much a month will it be to add her? Oh, it's going to be $89 a month to add her to our policy. Okay. Oh, she gets a good student discount if she keeps a 3.0 GPA. Okay, well, we'll make sure that happens. So now it's $84 a month, which doesn't sound like that much, but believe me, it's a savings every month for like all year. Do it. So this is why we started with the bike, because cars are complicated. Okay, so let's talk about the trade-in. More than likely you don't have a car that you can trade in, but maybe you have other things that you can sell to offset the cost of this car. So maybe you were this girl a couple years ago where you bought a new bike, bought a sweet bike that you loved, but now you have a car, you want to get a car and you want to offset the cost. So you can sell that bike, you can sell other things. Take a look around, figure out what makes sense. Adults, a lot of times when they're getting a new car or a car that is new to them, they calculate the cost of what they can sell their current car for, and they offset that cost. So you'll always get a little bit more money if you do a private party sale, but then you have to deal with selling your car. It is easier to go to a dealership and trade in your car if they'll take it. They will give you a lower price, but it's kind of like a whole lot easier. It just depends on what works for you. I would like to add that if you do this exercise and realize a new car is not in my future soon, you can use this process to figure out, okay, so if $3,000 isn't enough for the car that I really want and to be able to have for the long term, do this process and figure out how you can start saving some money and earning more money to be able to get the thing that you want, the car that you want. And if it's not a car, and if it's like, something else, that's what the point of this series is. All right, so here we are with our items. And I just want to give you a visual of what this can look like. So you're going to start with your research. So the who, what, where. You're going to figure out the cost, which again is partly research, but the cost is going to be dependent on a lot of things, especially depending on where you get it. So some stores may have the same item, but for different prices. And so that's why doing a little bit of research can pay off. So that Upkeep, I wanted to make sure you had a visual. So Upkeep are your tires, your downloads, your the bicycle pump, and the trade-in. Look around your house. Don't sell your family's stuff. Sell your stuff. Nobody will appreciate you taking their things and making money off of them. But now is a great time to kind of go around and look at the things that you may not need anymore and see if there's something that you can sell or trade in to be able to get to the thing that you want to get. So, this has a nice little bicycle in there. So let's talk about what's coming up next. So every Tuesday you can tune into our YouTube channel and we will have a new video. So I'm going to talk to you about ways to earn money. And none of these are things that are probably too difficult, but we are living in a kind of different time right now. It can be very challenging. So I wanted to make sure that we have some things that you can start doing now when we are social distancing, and some things that you can start right now and then start building on your own business or job. Remember, you can always email us at program@girlscoutsccs.org. And until I see you again next Tuesday, have a great day.